Sharks are menacing creatures capable of scaring almost anyone out of their wits. In fact, there is no fear more intense and widespread as the one associated with sharks, particularly the great whites. These formidable monsters of the oceans and our nightmares used to frequent the coastal waters of South Africa, especially the waters of False Bay near Cape Town. This is actually one of the best-known hotspots of these gigantic predators. Shark spotters would gather here in hopes of witnessing a great white in all its glory and maybe taking some pictures if they got lucky. The beaches in the area were strictly monitored every day for these sharks, and the visitors were warned to stay out of the water when the sharks were nearby. But in a mysterious turn of events, the great white sharks have vanished from these coastal waters in recent years, and marine scientists have no idea what has caused the great whites to abandon what used to be their claimed territory. Have they found a better place, or has something scared them away? Experts are trying their best to figure out why these magnificent creatures have not been witnessed in this area for years now. The great white shark, or Carcharodon carcharias, is also known as the white pointer and white shark. It is a species of the large mackerel shark that frequents the coastal waters of all major oceans around the globe. The shark is renowned in pop culture and amongst marine scientists for its colossal size. The larger female great white sharks tend to grow up to 6.1 meters in length and weigh around 1,905 to 2,268 kilograms when they mature. But most are relatively smaller, with male sharks measuring 3.4 to 4 meters and females that measure 4.6 to 4.9 meters on average. A 2014 study revealed that the average lifespan of the great white shark is estimated to be around 70 years or more. This is actually much longer than previously estimated, and it also means that the great white may be the longest living cartilaginous fishes known so far. In the same study, it was also found that the male great whites take around 26 years to reach sexual maturity, and the females could take as long as 33 years before they're ready to reproduce. These massive sharks can swim at speeds of 25 kilometers per hour for short bursts and can swim as deep as 1,200 meters. The great white is an apex predator and has no known natural predators other than the terrifying orca whales. It is therefore regarded as the largest known macropredatory fish species and is therefore one of the primary predators of most marine mammals. It is the only known species to have survived till date from the genus Carcharodon. These sharks are also responsible for more recorded human bite incidents than any other shark species. The great white may have ruled the oceans for a long time now, but currently the species is facing numerous ecological challenges. This has resulted in their internationally protected status. The International Union for Conservation of Nature lists the great white sharks as a vulnerable species. It is also protected by numerous national governments like that of Australia. Because these great white sharks tend to travel long distances for seasonal migration and their diet is also incredibly demanding, it isn't logistically possible to keep them in captivity. And for this reason, there are no known aquariums in the world that house a live specimen of this menacing fish. These sharks live in almost all the coastal and offshore waters, having a temperature ranging between 12 and 24 degrees Celsius. But greater concentrations are found in the United States, South Africa, Japan, Oceania, Chile, and the Mediterranean, including the Sea of Marmara and Bosporus. One of the densest known populations of the great white sharks is found near Dyer Island, located in South Africa. The juvenile great whites tend to inhabit a narrow band of temperatures in the shallow coastal nurseries. In recent years, there has been a shift as increased numbers of young sharks are being observed in areas they were not very common in previously, like the Monterey Bay and the Central California coast. Experts think climate change may be reducing the range of juvenile great whites and thereby shifting them to the poles. It is also believed that the great white is an epipelagic fish mostly observed in the presence of rich game like fur seals, sea lions, cetaceans, other shark, and larger bony fish species. In South Africa, these sharks have a dominance hierarchy depending on the size, sex, and squatters' rights, but their behavior and social structures are quite complex and not well understood. The females dominate the males, the larger sharks dominate the smaller ones, and the older residents tend to dominate the newcomers. But their dwindling presence in the South African coastal waters has alarmed almost everyone, as now there aren't enough to observe so that their behaviors can be further analyzed. The ocean in South Africa was full of these predators as there was adequate sea life for them to flourish. People would gather on the beaches to watch as they performed mind-blowing aerial acrobatics to catch prey. But suddenly things changed. Shark Spotters, a local charity that monitors the city beaches, claimed they didn't spot a single great white in 2019, not even during the summer months from January to April, when these usually come closer to the shore. Turns out, a silent killer was picking off the great white sharks one by one. The giant preying on these great whites left a distinctive mark on the 8 victims that washed ashore. All the sharks' corpses had a distinctive wound, and their vitamin-rich, oily liver had been ripped out. In some cases, even the heart was taken. Initially, it was believed that humans may have something to do with this slow disappearance of one of the greatest predators inhabiting the South African waters. But a recent article, published in the highly acclaimed and peer-reviewed African Journal of Marine Science, told an entirely different story. The true culprit behind this disappearance of the massive white sharks was a pair of orca whales. These killer whales belonging to the species Orcanus orca were given their moniker by sailors in the ancient days who observed groups of these giants hunting and preying on larger whale species. But these aren't just ordinary orcas. It's quite easy to recognize them because of their distinctive collapsed dorsal fins, and scientists think that they're responsible for much more great white shark deaths whose bodies haven't washed ashore. At first, following an orca attack in hands by the great white sharks disappeared for weeks or months. According to lead author of the study, Alison Towner, a senior white shark biologist at the Dyer Island Conservation Trust, what we seem to be witnessing, though, is a large-scale avoidance strategy, mirroring what we see used by wild dogs in the Serengeti in Tanzania in response to increased lion presence. The more the orcas frequent these sites, the longer the great white sharks stay away. This research is quite important, as by determining how the larger marine predators respond to risk, scientists can better understand the dynamics of coexistence with other predator communities. These dynamics could also dictate the interaction between competitors or the intra-guild predator-prey relationship. Towner is a PhD candidate at Rhodes University in Makanda, Eastern Cape, and has been studying the great white sharks here for almost 15 years. And in her opinion, their prolonged absence is unprecedented. Previously, there were just 2 other times when the sharks were absent, 1 week in 2007 and for 3 weeks in 2016. And with the great whites gone, the surrounding ecosystem is facing some alarming consequences. The absence of the great white sharks has triggered the emergence of a new mesopredator in the region, the bronze whaler shark, or Carcharinus brachyurus. This is known for being one of the species devoured by the great white, but these are also being attacked and eaten by the orcas. These killer whales are showcasing an immense level of expertise and experience in hunting the larger sharks. The balance is a crucial factor in any marine ecosystem. For instance, with the great white sharks gone, the Cape fur seal isn't restricted, so these are now a threat to the critically endangered African penguins. The fur seal also competes for the small pelagic fish they eat. And as there's only so much pressure an ecosystem can take, the impacts of orcas removing the sharks could be much more worrying and far-reaching. This isn't the first time the orcas have managed to drive away great white sharks from an area. In 2019, a study found that the great whites would avoid their preferred hunting waters off the San Francisco coast if an orca appeared in the region. The presence of even a single killer whale can disrupt the shark feeding behavior for extended intervals of time at this aggregation site. With the help of long-term sighting and tracking the data from 14 GPS-tagged sharks in the last 5 years, the South African scientists have demonstrated that the sighting of great whites have significantly plummeted in several bays. Their population has drastically declined between 2014 and 2018, and there was a notable decline in their attack rate on the Cape seals too. There were even prolonged periods of complete white shark absence from Seal Island during this time. Orcas are toothed whales belonging to the oceanic dolphin family and are the largest member of this family. It is the only extant species in the genus Orcinus and is recognized by the black and white patterned body. This cosmopolitan species is found in all of the world's oceans in a wide variety of environments, from Arctic and Antarctic regions to the tropical seas. The male orcas typically range from 6 to 8 meters in length and weigh more than 6 tons. The females are generally 5 to 7 meters long and weigh around 3 to 4 tons. The pod of orcas hunting the great whites in Hansby and False Bay are two males who only eat the shark's liver and leave the rest of the carcass as is. The two killer whales have become quite famous and were given the names Port and Starboard. They are estimated to be around 20 years old and appear in South Africa's waters every year during the migration from Antarctic waters between the months June and December. They first appeared in 2015 and since then have been spotted 41 times between False Bay and Hansby. A 2020 report by the shark expert panel appointed by Minister Barbara Creasy suggested that the disappearance of great white sharks was more likely a shift in distribution from west to east as a result of the recent orca occurrence and predation instead of being related to fishing activity. But experts believe that the modern fishing industry may have a hand in affecting the recovery rate of the great white population. Sharks are slow to reproduce and only give birth to a few pups. Therefore, large sharks cannot cope with the continuous, relentless decimation of their numbers. It is still not clear as to how the orcas figured out this area was ripe with sharks having a fairly nutritious liver. It is also hard to tell how they found out that livers make great food in the first place. Unpublished data suggests that these two killer whales could be members of a rare shark-eating morphotype, and they choose the top predators of the ocean as their preferred meal because the prey they used to devour was declining in numbers. This puts even more pressure on the great white shark population that is facing a lot of challenges already. Towner said that they know the great white sharks face their highest targeted mortality in the anti-shark bather protection nets in KwaZulu-Natal, and the species cannot afford additional pressure from these orcas. The killer whales are targeting these sub-adult great white sharks, which can further harm an already vulnerable population owing to their slow growth and late maturing life history strategy. Towner also suggests that increased vigilance and continued tracking studies will help them collect more information on how these unique patterns of predation will affect the ecological balance in the coastal seascapes in the future. Experts have considered other possibilities of this unprecedented great white shark disappearance, including the sea surface temperature and fishery-induced decline in populations, but these do not explain the immediate and abrupt decline in shark sightings that began in 2017 and the extended periods of absence. However, overfishing and pollution definitely play a role in this decline of the great white sharks, according to Sarah Andriott, a marine biologist at the Stellenbosch University in South Africa. She said, "My worry is that the focus on the orcas is distracting the attention from problems that humans could solve." The experts think the great whites may have abandoned their usual hotspot, but they haven't wandered far. Marine Dynamic, a cage diving operator that launched from Hansby, says that it has had some shark sightings in 2019. Another 2016 study suggested that there were a few hundred great white sharks left in South Africa, as compared to earlier estimates of a few thousand. The DNA analysis of shark tissue showed that the genetic diversity of the South African great whites is surprisingly low. This also makes them more susceptible to external shocks like disease and environmental changes. Recently, a group of killer whales was witnessed chasing sharks during an hour-long pursuit off Mossel Bay, a port town in the southern Western Cape province. The spectacle was captured by drone and was monitored by a helicopter. Alison Towner commented that this behavior has never been witnessed in detail before and certainly never from the air. One clip from the footage shot in May showed 5 orcas chasing and killing a great white. Scientists believe that 3 more sharks were mauled to death during the same hunt. Simon Elwyn, a marine mammal specialist, said that killer whales are highly intelligent and social animals. Their group hunting methods make them pretty effective predators. One of these whales has previously attacked the great whites, but the other 4 were new to this. Experts now believe that the black and white orcas can adapt to each other's behavior through cultural transmission. The sharks vanished from the area after this terrifying attack, and only 1 great white was spotted in the next 45 days. Scientists think if the orca dominance persists, soon enough the great whites will completely abandon the coastal waters of South Africa, and this will gravely affect the ecosystem in the region.